I'm delighted to be joined by Julian Rio, who is the Senior Director of Marketing at Ring Central. Julian is an established author, blogger, and expert on the future of customer experience, which is a very topical area with our members. So, Julian, why, in your experience, is customer engagement important within customer experience?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Jayne, for this interview together. I think customer engagement is actually crucial to customer experience. The way I see it, customer engagement is a subset of the overall customer experience, because customer experience covers so much more than just the conversation with your customers. But customer engagement is essential because it usually happens anytime your customers have a question or a problem. So those are like key milestones on your customer journey mapping. And if you don't get that right, that's going to be a major issue. So customer engagement is definitely more than important. It's actually crucial to get that right. When you look at the traditional customer experience pyramid as described by Forrester, for example, you really get 3 layers in customer experience. The first layer, the base that you need to build, is being able to answer your customers' questions, solve their problem, basically fix whatever they need. Most companies are able to do that. It doesn't work 100% of the time in every situation, but this is what you need to go to the next step. The second layer is to make it easy, because solving people's problems, answering the question, great, but it's even better if it doesn't require too much effort. And only once you get these 2 layers done, then you can look at the third layer, which is delighting customer, making the whole experience enjoyable. Well, customer engagement covers all of that with a strong focus on making it easy. Simplifying engagement is going to make the whole experience a lot more enjoyable for everyone anyway. And the last reason why it's so important is essential to get feedback. How can you improve your product? How can you improve your services? How can you make sure you're really aligned with what your customers need if you don't have this engagement? So for all these different reasons, customer engagement is a crucial piece of the customer experience.
Absolutely. And with all that in mind, then, how would you recommend that we engage with customers to build relationships and loyalty?
Well, the very first step is about embracing customer engagement. That may sound obvious, but so many contact centers are really cost-driven, right? And when you're cost-driven, you don't embrace engagement, because when you're cost-driven, what you try to do is to reduce engagement to the bare minimum because you need to reduce cost. When you are customer-driven, then that's a completely different story. Meaning, there are some very simple trick to find out where your company stands. If the major KPI, if the major metrics within the contact center is about average handling time, you're probably cost-driven, because you try to reduce the time you spend with your customers to the bare minimum, because each second is actually a few cents that you gain on your bill. If, on the other hand, one of the top metrics you would have within the contact center is, I don't know, customer satisfaction, NPS, FCR, for example. All those things are good indicators that you are more customer driven. So embracing engagement means really understanding that it has a huge impact on the customer experience, and therefore it has a huge impact on their satisfaction, the loyalty, the revenue you generate with them. If you take this approach, then you're already on the right path. Once you get that ready, there are many other small tricks you can have here and there to build a stronger relationship. One of my favorite one is try to find ways in terms of processes and in terms of technology to make sure that the last agent that talked to a customer is also the next agent that will talk to that customer next time the customer comes back. Because if you can manage to find a way that the same agent always talk to the same customers, they will build bonds, which is so difficult when you change, a customer service representative every time you engage with a brand. If you change every time, you can't build anything. But if you end up having the same agent whenever possible, you start building bond. And from these bonds, then you have the customer loyalty you need. And the last thing is trying your best not to have agents built into silos. If you manage to get agents a full customer view across past historical data, across different channels, across different touch points, across transactional information, once you give this to your agents, then now they have the full picture and they can really build that relationship and satisfy your customers and keep climbing this pyramid I talked about earlier. There are so many small things you can do, but at the end of the day, it's just an accumulation of small details that will really help that customer loyalty to be built the right way.
Brilliant, thank you. That's obviously a very 360-degree approach. With that in mind, what process should organisations use to select the right customer engagement channels?
Well, the very first thing here is to understand the different channels that there are out there. There are a few basic principles that you need to look into. Are we talking about voice, or are we talking about written channels? Are we talking about synchronous, or are we talking about asynchronous? Are we talking about third-party channels or embedded home-based channels? Once you have that understanding, and once you understand who your customers are, what is it that they're using on the daily basis, then you start knowing what it is that you need to make available for them. If you know that among your customer population, 80% of them are using, I don't know, WhatsApp on a daily basis to engage with their friends, with their family, chances are this is the right channel you should implement. If all of them are using email only, then that's where you need to go. You really need to understand your customers, because there is no one solution fit all. It really depends on what your customer base look like. Now, generally speaking, what is really hot these days, what's huge in 2020 is everything about messaging. Messaging channels are hot because everyone uses them. Obviously, younger generation use it more, but even older generations are using it every day. I'm sure anyone that, my personal experience, that anytime I call someone, first I will send a message to ask, is it the right time to talk? Because messaging is so much embedded into our daily lives today. So look into this messaging channels, find what makes sense for you, and don't focus on a single channel. You need to have a larger mix, because you don't have, once again, one size fits all for all of your customers. Even if 80% of your customers love WhatsApp, there will be situations where email is more convenient, live chat is more convenient, Facebook Messenger is more convenient, whatever that is. So you need to have a healthy mix that really represents the population of customers that you got.
Yeah, that's a very holistic approach, really, isn't it? I've received a question from one of our members, actually, which is, how can companies use digital channels to deliver a preventative customer complaints framework? What would you recommend there?
Well, I think when you look at engagement channels, you can separate them into three buckets. The first bucket is what I would call reactive channels. So reactive channels are typical. That's what we use the most. It's email, for example, or that's going to be, I don't know, messaging channels as well, meaning that the customer comes to us and asks a question and we react by responding to this question. Then you get proactive channels. Typically, live chat is a great one. Messaging can be a good one as well, where you don't wait for the customer to come to you, but you see that he has a specific pattern that suggests that person may need help or guidance in some way, and then you triggers a conversation. That's being proactive. And then you got this third bucket, which is about listening. When we go into listening, that's going to be social media channels, or one that I love that most companies forget about, reviews channels. Whether we talk about Google My Business, that could be TripAdvisor, depending. That could be Trustpilot. There's so many companies out there managing reviews. But when you start getting into listening, then you can really prevent bad buzz or customer complaints and this kind of things. But you have to build that framework where you are reactive, because you need to be reactive, but you also need to be proactive in some situations to prevent frustrations on your customer side. And you also have to listen into it. Twitter is a fantastic platform for doing it, because there are so many conversations out there talking about you, but not at you. So you might not be aware if you don't listen into it. And Google My Business is a fantastic one as well, because that's probably the largest one in the world, where any consumer can leave a comment or a complaint about any brand anywhere, whether the page is being monitored or not. Any consumer can do it. So you really need to get into the listening part. And the last piece of advice I would give here is, once again, embrace engagement, make it so easy for customers to engage with you that when they have a complaint, they don't want to tell the entire world that they have a problem. They want to tell you because they trust you're going to fix it. And if they tell you instead of shouting it from the top of a roof, chances are you're going to be able to fix it before it turns into something like a bad buzz.
Great. Well, I'm going to flip that question slightly, because obviously you've told us what we should do, but what shouldn't we do? In your opinion, what are the main pitfalls that people should avoid?
I think I would get three of them. First one I probably mentioned already earlier. It's about using the wrong KPIs. It's all about embracing customer engagement. So what I said earlier was, don't look at average handling time. Look at FCR, for example, first contact resolution, right? Try to look at how to really satisfy your customer in every possible situation instead of looking at how much is it going to cost me to help this customer. That's the first pitfall. Don't get into the wrong metrics. Second one to avoid is probably around inconsistent customer experience across channels. Your customers don't care about channels. The channel is just a touch point, right? They don't care that you have different ways of managing it, different software, different processes, different guidelines. That's not their problem. They have a problem they want it solved. If they reach out through WhatsApp, fix it through WhatsApp. If they reach out through email, fix it through email. But make it super easy for them and make sure that the experience is consistent across these different channels, because that's one brand. They don't care whether it's different teams for you. That's one brand. They want the same experience across the different channels. And the last one is probably about giving them freedom and flexibility to choose their own path. There is no single customer journey anymore. I might want to start by looking at your website, then go to your Facebook page, come back to your web form, ask you a question, go on your app. I'm building my own path, right? So you can't force your customers into a specific channel, even if it's more convenient to you as a brand. You have to make it easy for them to reach out through any channel that's convenient to them, and then be outstanding on that specific channel. Don't try to force their path. Make it flexible. That's going to be much better for the customer and ultimately for the brand as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. There's some really great advice there, Julian. So in terms of keeping up to date and for more information, our members can go to ringcentral.co.uk. And do you have any other points of channels that you can refer us to, or how else can we keep up to date with you?
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you enjoyed the conversation, you want to dig a little deeper, see how you could make your customer experience better, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or whatever other channels you can find out there. Happy to have that conversation anytime.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks very much for taking the time with us.
Thank you.